Today on Over a Coffee, I'm talking with the President of Botswana, Mokgweetsi Masisi. And on the menu for us this evening, we're talking about his government's response to the COVID pandemic, economic diversification, and EU relations. Okay, Mr. President, well, it's lovely to meet you here in sunny Brussels, or even though it's not terribly sunny. But even so, you've been here this week after a pretty successful couple of weeks at home and now abroad. Starting with your third State of the Union address, if I'm not right, last week.
Yes, last week, literally a day before I came, I was in Parliament, as is our tradition, delivering the State of the Nation address.
Because I remember reading a few months ago that your ministers expressed hope that Botswana would be the first African country to fully vaccinate its people. Yes. Is that still a?
It's still a hope. It's still a hope because it's a very viable target. We're pretty up there right now, and our hope and plan is that we would have vaccinated about 64% of our population by the end of this year, if the vaccines, as we've paid for and ordered, arrive.
But that means, because I've followed the numbers in the vaccination numbers in Kenya, for example, where they're very low level of vaccination. How is it that your government and your country has managed to? You've got a very high rate of vaccination. You've not had the same kind of supply difficulties that a number of your neighbouring countries have had.
Well, part of the reason is that not only did we subscribe to the AVIT and the COVAX mechanism, we also put in place bilateral arrangements to procure directly from manufacturers. So I think the diversification of sourcing helped a lot. That's in addition to some donations that came our way, as they did to other places.
Because lots of countries actually saw delays with COVAX. There were lots of supply chains.
We did too.
Right.
We did too. And we paid a political price for it because we were accused of not telling the population the truth about vaccines. But it was all very objective reasons.
But in terms of going back to your State of the Union addresses, you've focused for the last couple of years in a row on economic diversification, on moving towards a knowledge economy.
Yes.
Obviously, diamonds have been a significant part of the country's economy for a number of years, and there's. But yet, how are you going to use that income and create other streams in order to meet your your national target of by 2036 being a high-income country?
Following our success at the elections in 2019, which success was predicated on a change mandate at the elections, a change mandate which was really to move our economy from it being resource-based to becoming knowledge-based, consistent with the aspirations of Vision 2036, our long-term vision. We set about putting together a budget proposals to put to Parliament, and we did, to diversify, revitalize, and transform the economy. So we're going to do things that we hadn't done before and take some real risks. But bang!
The pandemic has speeded that up.
COVID came. And literally 2 weeks after we had finished the budget, I had to call Parliament back, summon it back in a very unusual fashion. And I said, look, this budget is totally undermined. We have this crisis. We've got to reallocate. And we are reallocating numbers and not money because there was hardly any money coming into the economy. As you know, we are essentially a diamond-led economy, and there were no diamonds that are being bought. We had a budget that we put together called the Economic Transformation Recovery Plan, ERTP, that was budgeted for but not fully financed. And there came a point in time when we were literally drawing money in and then paying for this and waiting for that, and it was pretty bad. We drew down our reserves very heavily. We were committed to saving the life of every citizen and resident. So we put in the regular packages to mitigate, wage subsidy and support to companies, and attention to vulnerable groups, and food supplies to those who need it, and hospitalization, PPEs, isolation, you name it. But it was very straining on a narrow economy like ours. But we did it.
And I think your economy took, what was it, an 8.6%
knock
dip in GDP last year. And
yeah.
But I think you're forecasting about just under 10% for this year, so that it has bounced back pretty rapidly.
And largely also on the back of diamonds.
Yeah.
Because not only prices, demand has gone up, and prices have also improved, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it's a position we don't want to find ourselves in again, and we've got to build back our reserves. Yeah. It's extremely important because we are known for that. Our frugality has sustained us, and we've maintained very low interest rate, bank rates too, and credit rating has improved from negative. The outlook by Standard & Poor's is stable. But we still are committed to transforming the economy and still building a knowledge-based economy. So we don't want to waste this crisis. Yeah. So we seized this a moment, and we've invested in R&D and high-quality education, innovation, research, and financing the value chains after I put in place a reset agenda so that we further narrow the prioritization. So we have 5 top priorities in the reset agenda, which supplements the economic transformation and recovery plan. And, the top being COVID, saving the nation from COVID, followed by the realignment of government to support the government service, to support the government initiatives and agenda. And the third one is digitization, followed by agricultural value chain development. It's the fourth. And the fifth is mindset change. These put together, along with the projects and programs under them, we feel that we'd be able to frog leap.
Mm. I remember speaking to your trade minister about 6-7 months ago about talking about the agribusiness, for example, which suddenly you had this, supply chains were hugely disrupted, and suddenly there's food security and production becomes
an issue.
Yeah, an issue, and you have to accelerate the process of change.
So we're pumping money into the private sector. We're borrowing money. Development finance institutions, commercial banks are borrowing money to persons who want to get into that space. Particularly if you look at our imports data and the gaps, we just need to fill that up. But we're also committed to taking our agriculture and as much of our economy as possible to be export-led, export-oriented. So we want even our agriculture to be export-led. And part of the way to do it is to develop a niche in it. We may not have the best water or the most fertile land, but there are certain things that we produce, and we produce darn well. That's what we want to do. And not only well, we want to value add them darn well. So we want to partner with, source from countries that are leading in the world in those things. So the industrialization with digitization, the technology harvesting, the skills harnessing, the partnering, the opportunity presentation. And that's why we travel to places like Brussels. We go to France, Switzerland, the UK, because in the terms of food processing in the Netherlands, you get some of the best technology, minds, expertise, these places.
And in terms of, I guess we're coming to another point of being, your visit to Brussels. How can the EU help you? Or, I know that one other thing that was drafted and published just a couple of days before the pandemic was the Commission's its blueprint on what this strategic partnership with Africa could look like, and obviously that has been adjusted, in the wake of the pandemic.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I just come from a meeting with Vice President Borrell of the EU, and I had another meeting with President Chris Michel.
Charles Michel, yeah.
Yes, and very interesting meetings because we put our case across. Of course, they commended us for what we do, good governance,
Yeah.
and that we're growing, and we really don't have issues that they want to raise with us. But I objected. I said, you must have issues to raise with us because we are underdeveloped. We are a developing nation. We aspire for the good things in this world, and we want them yesterday. We have a burgeoning population. We have 60% of our people are young. We provide the basic education to them. We need 21st century skills, right? And we need them yesterday. Why do we need them? We need them to be engaged, to earn a living. They want to work. They want to earn their money. We don't want to go anywhere. We want to earn our money in our country. We want to trade. And so open up the trade spaces, open up the opportunity to capacitate in skill and teach, partner with, so that you grow prosperity with them to realize a higher level of prosperity. And that was the nature of the discussion, essentially. And that Botswana as a country can contribute to world peace and well-being, beginning with the region. Yeah. We have a small defense force that's pretty well capacitated to be deployed for peacekeeping, but also for peacekeeping training. Sure. So we have one of the best police forces in Africa. We have an academy for law enforcement, international academy, which was built with the support from Americans. We have the police college. We will open up spaces for those who need to be trained to enhance good governance and respect for the rule of law. In those places, the EU might want to help with that. But the EU must also see us as a resource to be used in ways different from the traditional bilateral relations that we've had with them. We also would want to open up opportunity for enhancing the value chain in those things that we have a competitive advantage in: agriculture, wildlife, and the wildlife ecology and economy, our mineral wealth and the beneficiation of that, including the exploration, but mainly also innovation. How do you develop an ecology of innovation and translating the products of innovation to be patentable, registerable, and tradable?
I guess that point about patentable and domestic innovation and industrialization also ties in with one of the issues about vaccine production during the crisis has been a major issue, and I think it's still before this question of whether the patents could be waived is still before the WTO. But we're now starting to see big Western pharma companies committing to develop in African states with the support of the European Union and investment, for example. Is that a market that you would like to see Botswana tap into?
We're very keen to have it because we've got immediate problems to solve.
Yeah.
And part of the immediate problem to solve is we want vaccines.
Sure.
And if we can be helped to produce them, voila.
And then also for HIV/AIDS
and for HIV/AIDS or
other,
whatever,
a range
tropical
of other
diseases that are often neglected, we will produce those. It's the ecology and the system of production of vaccines and the capacity to respond to a problem and offer a global solution in the health space.
Again, in terms of how can the EU help you in terms of digital single markets and developing your knowledge economy and investment as well? I mean, I know this has been an issue with Botswana as well, in particular, that investment vehicles. The EU says we've created these investment vehicles, but in fact, it's been quite difficult actually accessing and tapping them for the finance.
I made it plain and clear that we also would want investment so that our people grow. Extractive investment is very short-termish. and unhelpful, and it sets about despondency leading to xenophobia. You don't want to unsettle the peace. Exactly. So we want investment that also involves our people being invested in and they invest in too. That's the kind of investment we want.
And that also ties in with the industrialization
Exactly.
agenda.
Knowledge economy.
Yeah.
It's just respecting your people. I want to develop this concept until I can actually link it to human rights. I think you have a right to a well-being, to prosperity. I do too.
And just to go back to your relationship with the EU, how's it changed since the pandemic?
Well, I think we're more engaged, to be honest. It's more intimate. It's the first time I come and meet the EU, but I've only been president for 3 years. I can't claim to have been around for too long as president. But I found it to be very, very comforting in the level of engagement and the frankness, truly. One will wait to see the outcome of this and see if this has been helpful, and it must yield results. I'm a man in a hurry, so I'd hope that these things do start moving quite quickly, because our people need opportunity. I can't lead a people into one meeting hall after another and report that I spend my time all over Europe in meetings and nothing coming of it.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that. That's
been a frequent complaint of the institutions here, unfortunately, isn't it? That, again, we talk about this, this strategic partnership document, and it was written 18 months ago, and nothing's really moved on since then.
Yeah.
I think we can wrap up there.
All right.
But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.